Is there a strategy that'll help you grow your company faster? CEO Sales Strategies is an investigative business podcast for entrepreneurial people who never stop asking questions. Highly acclaimed sales revenue growth expert Doug C. Brown interviews CEOs, business owners, and professionals who serve them to uncover and share actionable tips and methods behind their bulletproof sales strategies. Topics covered on the show include their failures, struggles, secrets, and processes that help them succeed in selling millions to billions of dollars of their products and services, all with the sole aim of helping you grow your business. If you are eager to know the most effective sales secrets from the A players of the game, then the CEO Sales Strategies podcast is certainly the place to be.
Hey everyone, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies podcast, bringing you another amazing guest. His name is Adir Ben-Yehuda, and he's a founding member of a company called Walnut.io, and they're a no-code platform that allows sales teams to instantaneously and create tailored type interactive product demos and segmentation for the product demos, which is really cool, to improve their sales experience for themselves and for the clients and conversations that come down. So check it out at walnut.io. He and I are going to talk a lot about selling and doing it the right way, especially to enterprise clients, because he took his company from 0 to 250 enterprise clients in less than 2 years. And he had basically a GTM team of 30 people or so, right? So great achievement. He does really well at this process. He's very clear at understanding what sales is about. We're going to talk a lot about how do you sell now in 2022 and beyond versus different? How do you build a killer sales team, and what do you look for? How do you add value into the whole process of the selling cycle? And much, 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 much more. We talk about the psychology a lot behind why things work and why things don't work in selling in general. And you can use this and adapt this stuff into your company to help scale up your revenues and your profitabilities in your company. So without further ado, let's go and talk to Adir. Adir, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I really appreciate you being here and taking time from Walnut. So for folks, those of you who don't know Adir, he's a founding member of Walnut, which is really a no code platform, I should say, not no cloud, it is in the cloud, platform on how sales teams can instantly tailor interactive product demos and improve sales experiences and conversions. Did I get that right?
You got it absolutely right. Yes, Doug.
All right, cool. So you are an expert in building sales teams, building sales companies. You're a founding member of this company. And I have a lot of people here who are looking for a sales team, a great sales team, not just the sales team, right? Because everybody looks for great sales members, but they don't even know what a sales team member, in many cases, what they're looking for or what they should be looking for. I think you have a concept around creating what would be, deemed a killer sales team. So how would you define that for people so that they understand what we're going to be getting into?
Yeah, so I think there are a few things that we need to consider when going about selling sales team. The first question you need to ask yourself is, do you know how to sell the product, right? Do you understand the reactions and the interaction you have with the prospect, the back and forth? And once you understand, like after going through a few of those sales cycles and going through a few of those like back and forth with potential clients, with prospects, I should say, right? And so you understand like what kind of character and what would you need from a seller, and how would you want your sales team to be there, right? Where you want people that will be more on the challenging side of things, people that will be more sophisticated. That's the first part I should say that you need to look at it. The other part is, once you get those kind of people, start looking about the topic or the challenge you're trying to resolve, right? And then find people that have some passion about those kind of things, right? Everyone is passionate about something. I'm deeply passionate about sales. I'm deeply passionate about go-to-market. I have friends who are working in technology for pets because they are deeply passionate about pets. And once you find those right people that are passionate about their topic, it's also easier for them to talk about those challenges with their prospects, right, during the sales cycle. The last part I would say, when you look at overall the rest of the things, is kind of identify not just your challenges or your prospect and how your prospects would like to engage, but who are your prospects? Are you looking to sell to people to a smaller deals, smaller ACV, right? Like get the ball rolling there, or you want to sell to enterprise companies. Maybe you want to identify those people that know how to close one call close, right? They know how to push the prospect and it's okay. Or maybe you want those people that are more nurturers in their state of mind, and then start looking at things. Oh, let's go in a few calls and then get you like those 50, 60, 100, 20, 100, 200, sorry, K deals.
So the three things I got out of that is you as the owner or the founder or the person who's starting the sales team actually is the core, and you got to have that own self-belief and understanding of what you're selling, which I also see as a mistake, because people will sometimes go out and say, oh, I'm the CEO of the company, I founded the company, I no longer have to actually be the core of the company. And if we look at really great companies, for most of the life cycle, they are the core of the company.
Yeah.
Recognize names. Steve Jobs, for example, he was the core of the company. No matter what, he was there. Jeff Bezos, he was there. Now I know a lot of people, if we name things like the founder of Microsoft, or Bill Gates, or whatever, he was the core for a long period of time. Now, after a period of time, the core can exit once the sales team is up and running, and the whole process is up and running. But in the beginning, I agree, you got to have the core. Second thing I got out of that was you got to be passionate about what you're doing. I mean, passion is one of those things that's transferable. And if we're in sales and somebody's being mundane, oh yeah, buy my product, this, yeah, no, and then it's not going to transfer that reason to buy from one to the other. So passion is a really, Tony Robbins preaches this his whole life, live with passion, right? That type of thing. And the third thing I got was, who is your prospect? What you're really saying is, who's the ideal buyer? Who's the ideal prospect for you? And hone in on that person and put your energy and efforts into that type of target. Did I get those three right?
You're 100% right. Yes.
So if anybody's sitting here going, does this work? I will tell you listeners that, Adir is the guy who took Walnut from 0 to 200 enterprise clients, I think within less than 2 years, if I remember correctly.
250, yeah, but who's counting, right?
Oh yeah, so, geez, I shorted you for 50 clients. Sorry, buddy. So, those three concepts will, get you in that mode of moving forward. And obviously, it's worked for you to get 250 enterprise clients in a couple of years. So somebody's thinking, oh, I want to start doing this. I don't have any salespeople today, right? Because you grew this thing from 0 up. What's the first play? Where should they look? What should they be thinking about besides those 3 points?
So I think once you get those 3 points, then you need to start understanding, when you talk about not just the sellers themselves, but the whole motion. One of the things that we started doing is the first person I brought into the team was someone I used to work with, right, in the past. I'm like, hey, like I need to get you on this. And he's like, yeah, I'm not sure about Walnut. Is this thing gonna work? And I'm like, yeah, no one wants to work here now, but don't worry, it's gonna work. And so I brought him in, and then I had like this really good chemistry with him. So not everyone is like fortunate enough to know people that they work with in the past and can trust. But if you can have someone that you trust and his motions, and you understand exactly how he's going to be motivated, that's the first thing. The other part is, even before I would go and think about a whole sales team, that's the second hire that I added to Walnut. We hired an SDR, right? Someone who could take like the discovery call and add this motion. Now, discovery call, not in a traditional way, but have the initial call, like understanding what prospect needs, and give you more time to ramp up and get more building to this. It all drives to one place. At the beginning, a lot of people are thinking, oh, I have the product, now I can go ahead and sell it, right? Yeah. But you need to get a lot of data. You need to get a lot of information about the process and get a lot of data points and kind of connect it and get everything in one place in coherent steps and coherent conversation, right? So how do I get a prospect in? What do they care about? What's their main motivation? Do I put in a trial phase in the middle? And once you have this like second or third hire, for that matter, as an SDR, you can get a lot of information on top of the funnel and make sure the sales cycle will be relevant the same.
That's brilliant. Now, I don't know if people listening really caught that, but so I'm gonna come back to this. I mean, I've been fortunate or unfortunate to build a lot of sales teams, depending on how you look at it, right? So, but hiring an SDR basically to go out for prospects to get data, feedback, set things up in motion ahead of time before you even have a product or service delivery at that point. That's actually brilliant. So those of you listening, lean in, because this is a really cool concept. I've done this a couple of times, but you reminded me, like, it should be done every single time when you're starting something up. So if you don't know enough about your market, not you, Adir, but the people listening, folks, if you don't know enough about your market, the smartest thing in the world is to understand what your market wants, who buys, how they'll buy, what language patterns they want to hear, you know, what they want to buy first, what they want to buy second. And an SDR, a sales development representative, can get that information for you at very, very economical rates compared to making mistakes where you dump, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars into marketing or whatever it might be. And then you find out, oh my gosh, this doesn't work.
Correct.
Am I hearing this correctly?
That's 100% correct. And that's exactly the focus point that you need to go with. And again, it's very easy to make those kind of mistakes when it comes down to marketing, right? It's a large scale, but when you kind of put the spotlight on the sales process and you get a person in there, you can move also, and you can change a lot of things as you go. So that's one of the things that helped us a lot.
Yeah, and that way you can build up a list, if you will, right? You can build up the list of potential buyers so that when you're ready to go or release. Now, this can work on new products. You could be an existing company and you're just thinking, hey, I might want to roll out a new product or a new service idea. It's the same thing, right? You might have a built-in base, but the reality is you can go out to the new market, and it's highly recommended that because you have an existing relationship with a new base does not mean that they're going to buy the same way a cold audience is going to buy. So
that's correct.
If I haven't said this more than 3 times, this is a brilliant idea. Write it down. Please use it in your future going forward, because this will save you a lot of headaches. Now, here, Adir, you don't have to have, you can try an SDR and just try it for several months, right? I mean, if it didn't work out, you could just let the SDR say, hey, this is the trial period, what we're going to do, right? Some of them will be agreeable to that. I've had them do that for me. But yeah, I mean, generally they want to stay on forever, right? But it is something that you can do a test on up front. And I see you looking up at the sky a little bit.
No, because I think it's one thing, but if you're fortunate and you're lucky enough that the company is growing, right? One of the things that happened to us in Walnut, those SDRs, they came in like ground level and they're sellers now. So if you think about like building your killer sales team, like imagine those people, and we have people that started 2 years ago, they're account executives right now, they're selling every quarter 6 figures, on the higher end of the 6 figures right now. They learn the method bottom up, right? So that's exactly part of the things. The right people, those people are successful in this role, can also help you then build the future of your sales team as you scale.
That's right, because some of these people will ascend up to the top, right? Yep. That's you know, so, and the cool thing is you're minimizing your risk. You're maximizing the potential upside in the whole process. But I can tell you over and over and over, most people never would think of this idea. This is a brilliant idea. That's my 5th time for saying it. So everybody put a gold star on it, please. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Now, if people, let's say they don't have relationships, right, of their own, they didn't have a previous company, whatever, they couldn't pull somebody they knew. You still have other relationships out there, right? I mean, you can go to friends, you can go to business associates, whatever. And a lot of times they have recommendations. I have found that, you know, you're looking for this perfect fit, you describe it to them, and then they'll give you the referral to that particular fit.
Yep. And I think that helped us a lot also. And I think you kind of get a lot of things during that motion, right? You can find the right fit through this, but you can also start and talk with people about what you want to sell and the way you want to sell it, and kind of also get idea about how it's going to be positioned to prospect, to people who are not you, to people who are not living the problem in the day-to-day, your colleagues, right? And that's another point that helped us a lot and helped a lot of organizations.
That's awesome. We're speaking with Mr. Adir Ben-Yehuda. Hope I got the name right.
You did?
I did. Thank you. From walnut.io. Check out the software. It's pretty cool. I'm going to get into the software in a moment. I was hoping we could transition a little bit into something I think you know a ton about, which is sales skills that you believe are more important in today's selling market than ever in the past.
Yeah.
Well, what are they?
Well, I think there are a few things. I started with this about around the killer sales team. I think people right now, when they talk with individuals, they want to make sure that those individuals are worthy for their conversation, because they have an opportunity, right? You all, or some of you have seen the numbers around this. Most buyers don't want to engage with people. They don't want to engage with sellers. They see it as a burden. And I think one of the main things, one of the key skills that sellers need to understand right now, they're not paper pushers. If you went into sales just because you said, oh, that's my default job, like I'll just go on sales, right? I couldn't do anything else. That's like, it's going to be very hard for you to be successful. You need to be passionate about your field. You need to learn it, and you need to provide an added value to your prospect. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard for you to push forward and move forward. The other part, and I don't want to use like the cliche of listening. You need to listen. You need to listen. I think listening is one thing. I think asking the right questions that are not about your sales cycle. A lot of people would come to me. A lot of my sellers are like, I asked a lot of questions. Yes, you asked, is this a good timeline? What's your budget? Those are questions that matter for you. They're not a core part or a core need of your prospect. Ask the right questions, like, how is it going to impact your business? Have you looked at different solutions, not competitors necessarily, but different opportunities to resolve this pain point, right? And if you ask those kind of questions that are key for your prospect, it's going to be very helpful for you in the sales cycle. And it's a key thing. And the last part I would say, especially when it comes down today to you can't just buy someone a steak dinner and like have a sale, right? It's a challenge right now. It's probably going to be a challenge from now on. So I think the other part of like, be genuine about like the people you're talking with, asking them a little bit more personal questions, and kind of like try to build something that is just more than, oh, you're my 5th Zoom call of the day, let's get it over with. Yeah. So people see it. And I think that's one of the things that I'm trying to like put in my seller's head. It's like, don't let the prospect feel this is the 5th Zoom call of the day. He doesn't care. He needs this attention. And that's something we're trying to build. And I always think about it from a place of like, we're trying to build a brand, right? Walnut is trying to build a brand, and every engagement with this brand, it's not just on the website, it's not just on LinkedIn. Every engagement, when you talk with the representative of the company, is important. And if you as a seller don't have the energy to do this, it's going to be very hard for you to push forward deals and to deal with crises in a deal, or with a competitive deal for that matter.
Yeah. I mean, I'll start with the brand side of it. The brand, J. Conrad Levinson, who wrote a book series called Guerrilla Marketing, said to me years ago, a brand is everything that touches your senses of the prospect. Yeah. And I never forgot that. I thought it was a great way of defining it. And being genuine and building rapport, that is so important, especially in today, because let's face it, with the internet, they don't need you anymore to show up at their office, most of these people, right? Until they need you to show up. But when he was saying that, I wrote down the word doctor. I can imagine you're not feeling well. You go into a doctor's office. The doctor's like, you're my 6th appointment today. I am so tired. Let's just get this over with. What, right? Like, you're coming into the office, you're hurting, and you need some help, right? So too many people in sales, you're right, they look at it that way, especially when they start getting more successful than they ever imagined before. They start getting that arrogance line, if you will, through the process, like, oh, I'm better than I don't need to, act like I'm on day one. If you look at the best musicians in the world, for example, they show up every single time playing that song like it's the first time they've ever played, like Aerosmith ever played Dream On. I mean, how many times have they probably played it, right? So because they know that connection that you're talking about with the audience. So I think it's really, really impactful that you're bringing that up. When you were saying in the beginning, like, sales is a profession, basically. It is something to treat really seriously, and not my second, third choice, right? And I wrote down a deal. I said, what if somebody approached a marriage like that, right? Like, hey, honey, I'm really not into this, but let's get married anyways, and we'll see how this works out. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to my first or second choice. I don't think it will work out really well, and neither will it with the prospect. Added value. I think this is something I'd like to go a little deeper with you on. And then the third thing was asking the right questions. So you're absolutely right. Too many people are too focused on their own agenda. And when they're focused on their own agenda, they're asking sales questions that are just trying to close the sale before they even know if there's an opportunity or problem to solve.
Yeah.
Folks, lean in. That is a rapport break. And that rapport break is going to lead to lack of sales. I've measured this. I know this leads to rapport breaks, and this is what happens. And with so many people out there and so many products and services offerings out there that are similar to other people, you get competitors. So unless you're in a completely blue ocean, don't play that game. Adir is absolutely spot on that target. Let's go to added value a little bit, because I don't think a lot of people really understand what even value is to someone. So in your estimation, your definition, like dealing with your clientele, what would be some added value that people may be able to kind of say, wow, okay, that makes sense for me to look at too?
Yeah. So I think maybe before I answer this specific, let's talk about the journey, right? Like the journey of a prospect who wants to buy a solution, usually because he has a pain he wants to resolve, or he identifies the opportunity, but it's mostly around pain, right? And then he's researching. Those individuals are researching those prospects, and they're looking at different kind of materials, and they're looking at Google and their YouTube and ask friends. And then they come to you because they understand that, okay, I've solidified a few potential solutions, and I want to talk about my pain. I want to talk about my resolution. And that's where the added value comes in, right? You need to be an advocate or an advisor and help them understand if you can help them resolve the pain. For Walnut, in that matter, we have a lot of sales leaders that are coming to us and trying to resolve two things. A, they're trying to have their organization more efficient. They want to make sure that they can demo and present the product in different steps of the sales cycle. That's one aspect. The other aspect, they're trying to bring a better sales experience to their prospect. Exactly what we're talking about. They're trying to equip their sellers to show the product very early on, or to show parts of the product in order to have a better sales experience and a more prospect-focused experience. And that's what they're talking with us about, right? And then we start having those questions, not about, well, that's cool, I can give this to you, no problem, it's going to be 100K, let's sign this, right? Do you have a budget for this quarter? That's not a conversation we're having. That's not a conversation, right? It could be done on a website with a nice landing page and a credit card. What we're starting to talk about is we're starting to identify where do they see the main challenges in their funnel? Where is the first point that they want to tackle? Why they think that's the first point, and kind of trying to give them different benchmarks from the industry, from our clients, from data points that we've learned to understand what's life are going to be before using something like Walnut and after, and how it's going to impact their KPI. And we're going through this process in order to make sure that they validate it, and we are helping them understand the solution. Even if they end up not buying Walnut, they understand what they need to do and how they want to resolve things at the end of the day.
That makes a lot of sense. So validation from their perspective is the key. Those of you who are sales professionals, what you think really doesn't matter in most cases to the buyer. What you can bring for added value that they can validate as added value really matters to the buyer. So I love what you just said. It's really win-win helpful, right? I mean, it's just being helpful. And at the end of the day, these people either have some type of challenge or pain point that they're looking to resolve, or they're looking to gain some new opportunity or something of that nature. And as long as you in the sales channel can be helpful, the product or service will resolve itself at that point. And but it all comes down to people do business with people. And that's what I'm hearing loud and clear. We're speaking with Adir Ben-Yehuda from walnut.io. And let's transition, because I think Walnut's a really cool product, right? So why don't you tell people, what it does and why it makes sense for salespeople and organizations?
Yeah, so basically we have a technology that can help sales organizations, SaaS products at the end of the day, to capture and replicate their entire demo environment or even their production environment. And the idea behind it is once you have this tool that you can replicate your entire product, you can start slice and dice it and show different parts of your product, customize and personalize with no code in different parts of the sales cycle to different segments, right? So imagine the ability or the opportunity of showing a prospect a demo that is curated to his specific pain point, but based on his data points, based on his needs, and based on his specific use case, and build everything through this in a couple of minutes with no code, right? So when we start working with organizations, and we have companies that are working with us like Dell, like Adobe, like NetApp or VMware, and also smaller organizations, they essentially equip their sellers with this robust tool. They build everything in advance, and sellers can churn out personalized, bespoke product demonstrations in each part of the funnel.
I don't know the answer to this, so I'm going to ask and put myself out in the vulnerability part position. So could I create a separate demo for, say, the engineering staff, and I can create a separate demo for the CEO of the company?
Yes, yeah, 100%.
So I can actually segment my demonstrations with your, that's cool.
Yeah, so segment your demonstration and also think about it like a few dimensions, right? I can segment this from that perspective, but I can also segment it from the sales cycle, right? You have a sales funnel to each one of those steps. The demo, the notion of demo being after 3 meetings, and then you have a ceremony of a demo is no longer relevant, in our opinion, right? You need to lead with your product. That's exactly what I mentioned also about sales strength, right? You need to lead with the value. You need to talk with the prospect. Hey, you came to me with a pain point. Here is a resolution. Now let me give you more value around this. But you don't need to start having a conversation. Well, before I show you a resolution to my pain point in my own product, let's have 3 conversations that will bring 0 value for you, but all the value for me, because I'm doing discovery and I'm doing all those kind of things. That's just plain rude, and that's on how buyers want to buy today.
No, I agree. And that's why I asked about segmentation, because a lot of times in a multi-complex sale, that, you know, engineering versus HR versus human resources versus CEO versus sales leader, they're all going to have a little different desire in the solution of the opportunities being presented in your product or service. And if you can segment that demonstration to their needs of that process, wow, you're now basically taking a team selling approach through technology that's segmenting each individual demo to what's in it for them.
Correct.
That's huge. So congratulations and thank you for the world. Thank you. For the selling world anyways. So, well, cool. Now, if somebody wants to know more about Walnut or yourself or whatever to get a hold of you, what would you recommend?
So the first thing, and that's the first and foremost, go to walnut.io. You can see it on our website. I'm biased, but I would follow our LinkedIn page. We post there a lot of great, valuable content and also fun content. And you can follow me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect.
So is your LinkedIn address first and last name, or is it?
Yep, Adir Ben-Yehuda.
That's easy enough to remember. All right, I have one last question.
Go ahead.
I love when I go in and work with sales teams and people, and I go, look, no matter how successful you are, let's get your next 100 clients within X, or depending on the company, it could be 20 clients if they're selling very large, applications, right? And I know you've got advice for people, and practical advice on how to get your first 100 clients and go beyond, and then scale that process. So if you got some up and coming salespeople, you got some people starting out new, or even some seasoned vets, and it's like, listen, restart your clock. Here's some advice on how to get your first 100 clients. And you had a couple minutes to tell them. What would be some of the things you would tell them?
The main thing I would tell them is remove, don't think in boxes of a company, for that matter, right? I talk with a lot of early sales leaders that are starting the company, and they're telling me things about unit economics and how we should do things that based on what the board needs and all those great things, right? It doesn't matter. Everything is allowed at that point to get your first 100 clients, right? So think about things that actually impacting your unit economics in a negative way, although it's not maybe seems the right or smart thing to do at the moment. You'll get your first 100 clients, and then you'll be able to scale this up, right? We did a lot of you sign with Walnut for a year, you can opt out within 3 months. We did a lot of deals that are, hey, pay us 20 grand, it will be unlimited for the first year, or 30 grand, it will be unlimited. The board sat in front of us and like, oh, this is not great. And we said, well, we don't care. We'll get our first 50, 60 clients. And then once we'll have this core base, I can start having reference calls. Reference calls are so valuable, because then you can say, well, don't listen to me. Listen to James from company X. He bought the product from us. We can hook you up with a conversation, right? And then they talked with each other. So if you go ahead and you try to resolve the problem of acquiring your early clients by the rules of economics and things like and basic things like this, it's going to be way harder for you, and they're not relevant, because you might not have a company in a year if you think about those kind of things, and you wouldn't be able to acquire all those clients.
That's great advice. And when those reference clients, are you setting that up ahead of time? Like if you say, hey, look, we're bringing you on at this special, opportunity. And part of our deal is, if you wouldn't mind taking some reference calls down the line, so that you're setting that up front.
100%. It's part of the contract as well. And we're looking for those people. And I guess it's also, we're making sure they're happy as well very early on, right? We're putting a lot of focus, a lot of effort on them. And then it will help you build the rest of your basically client base.
Makes a lot of sense. And it's no different than what we used to do in school growing up. If you want to go out with the prettiest girl out there, you get her friends and make them happy, and they'll rave about you, and then she'll want to go out with you, right? So
exactly that.
Or at least that's the game I know my friends played. So anyways, so Adir, thanks for being on here. I really appreciate it. Folks, check out walnut.io, check out Adir on LinkedIn. Any parting last words from you, Adir, or do we do
it? It was a pleasure being here. And please, when you go and you approach a sale, think about your prospect first and foremost, not about your sale. It will help you a lot.
Well, thanks again for being here. Really appreciate it. Wow, that was pretty awesome, wasn't it? I love that idea about using SDRs to actually first prospect, especially when you're out releasing a new product or a service. What does that mean? You can take these SDRs, sales development representatives, you can have them calling out, getting data, getting feedback, understanding your market before you actually go out and build a sales team around that. Because firstly, you want to validate the idea, constantly validate your ideas. That is a very key component in sales, because sales changes, times change, technology changes, pandemics come out. We all know that in the past couple of years, changes the sales landscape. So validation of an idea is really, 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 really important. And, it was really cool to hear about what would you do to go get your first 100 clients, right? Because in using reference type of accounts and building it into the agreement and doing upfront agreements with these people. And, some understanding of what the general, what's most important now selling than in the past. It's really important to take a look and say, okay, are you selling like 1985? Because if you are, things have changed. There's a lot of people who would still like to go play golf, but most people aren't out playing golf, closing deals anymore. Now, there's still people who would do that, but there's a lot of things that are coming ahead of actually playing golf. And that is how you position your brand, your marketing, everything as a salesperson or as a sales channel or a company in general. So as always, if you like the subject matter, you want to hear more subject matters on different subject matter, if you will, that's not really great grammar, but I said it anyways, then please let me know what you would like to hear. Just send me an email at doug@ceosalesstrategies.com. Or if you want to hit the whole team, send an email to youmatter, YOUMATTER, @ceosalesstrategies.com. Let us know what you want to hear. We'll source the talent. We'll bring it to you. And, you can hear what you want to hear. This podcast is for you. If you like it, as always, please, please, please go up and give it a great review. Tell your friends, please subscribe, have them subscribe. The more subscribers, the better the algorithm works for us in increasing our podcast. If you need help on getting yourself to the top 1% in sales, or your company earnings, and I do this by state in the United States. If you are looking for something like that, reach out to me at doug@ceosalesstrategies.com. Or if in general, you're looking to optimize your sales revenue and grow your profitability in your company, reach out there or if you're looking for sales teams and sales support on that, I can absolutely help you. Again, Doug at ceosalesstrategies.com, or hit me up on LinkedIn at Doug Brown 123, and we will go from there. So as always, go out, sell something, sell a lot of it, but sell it profitably. Make some money, make people happy, help people, help yourself. And hey, it's all about improving our quality of lives. Until the next time, this is Doug Brown with CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. I'm signing off for now. To your success.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. What is something that you learned that you could act on today? Don't forget to schedule it now, or it may never get forward momentum. If you find our content valuable, please leave a favorable review and let us know what you liked. Please also share this with others if the content will help them. For our show notes, other episodes, and more interesting content and resources, please visit ceosalesstrategiespodcast.com. See you soon, and to your continued success.